You are listening to the Project Management Podcast. We bring project management topics to beginners and experts. Find us on the web at pmpodcast.blogspot.com or send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com. Hello and welcome to show number 12. I am Cornelius Fichtner. This is the Project Management Podcast for the 19th of November 2005, and today we'll be looking at goals, why you need them and how to set them right. As every week, to start out the show, a few announcements and things I want to get off my chest. Let me start out with the listener survey. If you listen and like the Project Management Podcast, then I would appreciate to hear your feedback. I have put a link onto my blog which will take you to the listener survey, and I would very much appreciate it if you would take 3 minutes out of your time and answer 10 questions for me. They're all point-and-click questions. It shouldn't take you really more than 3 minutes. With those 10 questions, I will be able to get to know my listenership a little bit better, and I will be able to focus more on what you want and improve the quality of the program here. And now, a word from our sponsor. This episode of the Project Management Podcast is sponsored by Project Load. Project Load is a web-based project management and time tracking tool. Project Load lets teams maintain and forecast their own tasks, helps project managers track their projects, gives PMOs one place to view all projects, and provides executives valuable insight into exactly where their organization is spending their time. You can find Project Load at projectload.com. Next, a couple of follow-ups from last week's show. First of all, there is Harry Fisher. If you listened to last week's show, you will have heard the piece from Harry Fisher about workflow. And he tells me that the article on which he based that particular piece, that was his article, I said it was published in the ASQ Quality Project magazine. That is, of course, the ASQ Quality Progress magazine. Well, yeah, that's an easy mistake for a project manager to make. And he also wanted me to mention that he is currently the Quality Assurance Manager for Whitman Hart Interactive. I also got some feedback from Ethan Johnson, who is the man behind The Vision Thing, the podcast, or rather the episode of the podcast which I reviewed last week. Ethan left a comment on my blog, and he obviously wasn't all too happy about the fact that I called the audio quality bad. Ethan would have preferred the word crunk. Well, the segment is called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and if you remember, I believe I called the content very good, and I called the audio quality bad. And I am sticking to that. I still think that the audio quality of that particular episode was bad, but the quality of the content was excellent. If you want to read his full response, you can go to the blog where he left his comment. And then we also have some reader feedback here. This one comes from Nigel Jones, and he writes, "Hi Cornelius, I'm Nigel Jones and I am based in the UK, in Scotland actually. I have recently found your podcast and have been listening on my daily jog with my iPod." So we have somebody who jogs to it, we have somebody who does his morning exercises with it. It seems to be a popular sports podcast here. He continues, "I have to keep extending my runs as the PM podcast seems to be getting longer and longer. I think I'm up to your 10th podcast now, and I really like them. Good content and easy listening. And I can tell that you give an honest opinion when you comment on and critique something. Keep up the good work." Thank you very much, Nigel, and I really hope that at some point you're going to have to run a marathon here to listen to my show in its entirety. I will try and keep it between 30 minutes and an hour in the future. No worries there. And those are about all the announcements and things I wanted to get off my chest today. Today's show marks the start of a new segment called Helpful Resources. When I come across good articles or presentations or white papers or whatever I deem a helpful resource, I am going to mention it here on the show. And today I have 4 helpful resources for you. The first helpful resource is an article which I have found in the Computer World Canada, and it's actually an older one. It is from the year 2002, but it still has value. It is titled, "There is a Reason Why IT PMOs Fail," and it was written by Ken Handley. And the reason why I mention it is simple, because he more or less repeats what I said in my show about PMOs a few shows back. He says that the trick to make a PMO successful is giving the people who are actually doing the project tools that work. Do that and the project team will beat a path to the PMO door. Exactly what I'm saying. Make it helpful to people and they will come to you. The next helpful resource is entitled Next Generation PMO. If you build it, will they come? And this is a presentation in PDF form by Jack Duggal from the Project Ties group. And in it, slide number 10, he has an overview between traditional PMOs and next generation PMOs. And this is actually the one thing that I find very interesting here. So go on, read this PDF document and particularly focus on slide number 10 to see the difference between a traditional PMO and what he calls a next generation PMO. The third and final article here about PMOs is entitled Top 10 Tips to Building an Effective Program Management Office. Follow these steps to ensure your PMO success. This is written by Stephen C. Howald. And he writes this on the Chief Project Officer website. That is chiefprojectofficer.com, and it's quite an interesting article. It's very well written. You won't find much here that you haven't read in other articles that talk about the top 10 tips to building an effective program management office, but I find that it's very crisply written and a good resource for all of us who work in PMOs. And finally, what I have found here is a free 26 project managers desk reference. Yes, and what could be better as a helpful resource than a project managers desk reference? This is from 4pm. You can find them at 4pm.com. And, unfortunately, I haven't actually been able to look at it because it is a PDF document, obviously 26 pages long, but it requires Adobe Acrobat 6.0 or later. And I have been so lazy with installing Acrobat readers on my system that I still have 5.0. And, I hope it's a good reference that I'm giving you here, folks. So those of you who go and check it out, please drop me a line and tell me if this was worth putting in the helpful references section here. Again, you will find links to these helpful resources on my blog. And now let's move right on to the news in project management of this week. The first news item this week is from Friday, the 18th of November 2005, and this is about a birthday, so I'm going to have to sing now. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear IPMA. Happy birthday to you. And now you know why I talk in front of a microphone and not sing. Yes, the IPMA, the International Project Management Association, has celebrated its 40th anniversary. And as you may remember, they're currently having a congress in New Delhi, and this is where they did it. Here's a little bit of a history that they mention about the IPMA. In 1965, a few project management enthusiasts in the heart of Europe joined together and started a discussion group of managers of international projects. The first international congress was held in 1967 in Vienna, with participation from 30 different countries. The group developed from the discussion group to an organization which was for years known as Internet. Time changed, and in 1994, Internet became the International Project Management Association. So once again, happy birthday, IPMA! The next news item is a little older, and I'm not quite sure how I managed to actually miss this. This is from the 2nd November 2005, and it is a press release from APM, the Association for Project Management. And it is about their Project Management Awards 2005. It's a long list of various categories in which people and projects and companies have won. And of course, I'm going to mention the two big winners here. Big winner, of course, is the Project Manager of the Year. And this year, this is Lise Taylor from Black & Veatch. And this was for the project which was mapping the right to roam for the Countryside Agency. The second award to mention here is the Project of the Year. And the Project of the Year award goes to the Firearms Training Centre for the Thames Valley Police, which is Hannah Reid and Associates Limited. Congratulations to all winners. Our last news item today takes us to India. It is from the 14th of November 2005 and titled India Must Emulate the Chinese Model in Project Management. Let me read off what this is all about. With a majority of infrastructure projects in the country facing time and cost overrun, the Indian Finance Minister, Mr. P. Chidambaram, today said that India needed to look at the Chinese model for executing mega projects. He says, if you look at bigger projects, there are 340 projects with a total investment of about 40 billion that are suffering from time and cost overruns. Quite a number. He also added that the roads and railway sectors were notorious for delays. He says that India has 450 certified project managers, and that at the IPMA D level, whereas China has 6,000 such managers at various levels. Additionally, China is planning to train 600,000 additional project managers to cater to its infrastructure. And what he proposes is a 7-step approach to project management. He says that improving the pace of implementation of mega projects was only one aspect, and that the country also needed to improve its technical competency and greater spread of IT. And you can find links to all 3 news items that I have here for you today, of course, on my blog. And now let's move on to the main section of the show today, in which we are going to take a look at goals. Well, how do you know that your project is done and successful? According to the Standish Group's 2004 Third Quarter Chaos Report, they say that 53% of all projects are challenged, 29% are successful, and 18% have failed. How do you measure something like that? Well, one way to do this is to look at the requirements and comparing the original list of requirements to what you've actually delivered. But that's really only part of it. You may deliver a system that answers 100% of the requirements that the customer originally demanded, but somehow the customer is still not satisfied. Your customer may tell you something along the lines of, well, it's certainly a great system that you've delivered here, but I really thought that we wouldn't have to file these documents manually anymore. If you hear a statement like this after the delivery, you know that you have completely missed your mark. You know that you did not satisfy explicit or, in this case, implicit goals that the customer had. Goals are a powerful compass on any project, and knowing how to define and word your goals right is a powerful way of ensuring that your project ends up where you want your project to be. If you search for goals on the internet in terms of projects, then you will find the following story again and again and again, and you're probably already sick of it if you've heard it several times or seen it several times before. It is by Lewis Carroll, and it's from Alice in Wonderland. And Alice meets the cat, and Alice says, "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" The cat responds, "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to." Alice says, "Well, I don't much care where." The cat then responds, "But then it doesn't much matter which way you go." Alice says, "Well, as long as I get somewhere." And the cat responds, "Oh, sure, you'll do that if you only walk long enough." That's a pretty good summary of what happens if your project doesn't have any goals at all. If Alice had any goals, then she would have known exactly where she wanted to go, and she could have asked the right questions. All right, let's move on and let's start with a definition of what goals actually are.
The Project Management Podcast's definitions.
Today I am going to be lazy, and I will give you the definition of goals from the Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. Well, I'm not only giving it to you because I'm plain lazy, but also because I like their definition here. In project management, they write, project goals are a business benefit that an organization expects to achieve as a result of injecting project products into itself or its environment. The term business benefits refers not only to strictly monetary gains, but to all kinds of changes in parameters describing the workings of any organization that brings it closer to its goal. Project objectives are often confused with project products. That is to say, the objective of our project is to install System X. In such a case, apply the so what test. You can also ask, why do we want System X several times to discover the benefits of having System X in place? A more formal way to define project goals is a desired change in key performance measures, also known as indicators, of an organization, resulting from the interplay between project products injected into the organization's or its environment and the organization itself. They also talk about types of objectives here in the Wikipedia. And they say that project objectives can be divided into 3 categories. 1, main objectives, the reasons for doing a particular project. Number 2, additional objectives, the benefits achieved sort of by the wayside, but not the actual big main reason for doing the project. And thirdly, non-objectives, the benefits that are not to be expected as a result of the project. And that is my, or rather the Wikipedia's definition of what project goals are. A word on the non-objectives that we heard about just at the end. Or also a word on non-whatevers in a project in general, really. I have always found that exclusion is an important tool, or technique if you wish, in project management. I personally always very, very clearly state what I exclude in a project. For example, the office in Munich is excluded from the system, or an automatic filing system will not be implemented. And I do this with goals, with requirements. If I draw a systems diagram, I make a clear line around the system and say this is the border of the system, and I place things that I don't want to include outside. And this is a great way to manage customer expectations. But back to goals here. The best way to begin defining your goals is to start with the end in mind, as always in project management. Just sit down and imagine the day when you deliver the solution. Don't imagine the hassle that you're going to have on the very last day. Imagine the product that you're going to deliver, of course. The reason to do this is simple. The clearer you are about the result of your project, even though this may change over time and today you may not be 100% certain what you're going to deliver, but you can get a good picture in your head. And the better you do this, the more effectively will you be able to actually achieve this. Now that you have a mental image of that solution in front of you, think about the benefits that this solution will give to the customer. Then you will suddenly realize that the customer still has to file the documents manually. And you will then suddenly realize, now wait a minute, wouldn't it be much better if we implemented a system in which the customer doesn't have to file the documents manually? Shouldn't we just eliminate that? And once you have a clearer picture of where you think that the project should go, then you have to start talking to your customers and other stakeholders. Now, this sitting in your room and just imagining what it's going to be, that's good to start. But once you have a kind of an idea, you really have to go out there and you have to talk to people. Ask them why they want this project. What do you want to achieve with this project? What do you not want to achieve with it? And they may not really give you the answers that are formulated in terms of goals. Instead, they may say something along the lines of, this manual filing system is really an absolute drag, and I wish we could do something about that as well. And by interviewing everyone involved like this and talking to them about the goals that you have thought up and where they want to go, you will gather the necessary input to begin to define the project goals. And then the real trouble begins for you. How to formulate your goals and how to formulate them correctly. The elimination goals, they may be quite simple. Such and such will not be included. That's quite easy. But what about somewhat more esoteric goals? Let's say in which you have to decrease time to market in your research department. Well, first of all, write them down. In a project I have just taken over, goals did not get written down. And now I have to clean up the mess. The goal in this project was, the stated goal that was never written down was, we need to implement an application which will manage all user IDs in our computer environment, and it needs to do that for all applications that we have. And since it never got written down, we now have an application that manages most user IDs for only a portion of our applications. So write it down. Make sure that everybody understands this is the goal, right? The way you write your goals down is SMART, and that is S-M-A-R-T. SMART. SMART is an acronym, and it stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timed. Let's take a look at all 5 of these individual words. Specific. Goals should of course be straightforward, and they should emphasize exactly what you want to happen. If you are specific, this will help you focus and clearly define what you're going to do. Specific is what, why, and how of this SMART, the SMART way of writing goals. With a specific goal, you will define what you are going to do and why it is important to do this, what you want to ultimately accomplish. And how are you going to do this? You're going to do this by doing such and such. Yeah? Ensure that your goals are very specific, clear, and easy. Instead of setting a goal for, say, let's do this personal, instead of setting a goal by saying, well, I want to lose weight and be healthier, just say, okay, I am going to take out my bike every morning and I'm going to ride to the office. And I'm going to do this for the next 3 weeks. That is a specific goal. Next in the SMART model is the M, and the M stands for measurable. If you can't measure a goal, how can you manage it? And how can you, at the end of the project, go back and say, yep, I have achieved this goal, or no, we haven't fully achieved this goal at all. In the broader sense, the whole measure of having goals and measurable goals will allow you to measure the project. Sometimes you have short-term goals or small measurements, and they can all be built into this. Choose a goal that you can actually measure. Try to, maybe if you have goals that are not measurable, put them in a separate category. Goals that are very difficult to measure, like improve customer satisfaction. That's usually difficult to measure. But deliver a system that reduces a problem by 25%, that you can actually measure. Establish concrete criteria for measuring the progress towards attaining your particular goals, so that, like I said, at the end you can go back and say, yep, achieved, or nah, not achieved. So that was S and M, and next is A, which stands for attainable. When you identify goals that are important to the project, you have to start thinking, okay, is this really attainable? Is this feasible? Can we actually turn this goal into a reality? Okay, we want to reduce time to market by 99.9%. Probably not attainable. But we want to reduce time to market by 25%. There you go. That is probably more attainable. If you set your goals, they always say, reach for the moon. Well, in a project, not really a good idea. A goal may be something that you need to stretch for, but nothing that you need to overstretch, right? After the project is done, you want to be able, with your team, to celebrate, and you want to be able to say, we have achieved what we set out to do. And the feeling of success will also help the team to stick together, because as the project moves along, you will notice, oh wow, we're getting closer to our goals, we're getting closer, and this will drive the project forward. That was S, M, and A, and next is the R, which stands for realistic. Realistic doesn't mean easy. Realistic means that you want to be able to do this project. It's kind of close to attainable, but not really. A realistic goal may push the limits of what has been done before. It may push it out far, but you know that if you put enough effort into this, then it will work and you will be able to actually achieve these goals because they are realistic. If you put a goal into your project that you fair well know that the technology in order to achieve this doesn't exist yet and will have to wait 3 years before it's even available, then it's definitely not realistic. But if the goal uses state-of-the-art technology that is maybe untested, and the goal is that you're supposed to use this technology and, well, we've got to make it work, well, it is realistic. It's maybe pushing the envelope a little bit, but you're right there. And set the bar high enough so that it's still achievable. And the last of the letters in the SMART is the T, which stands for timed. And when it comes to timed, you want to set a date when this goal in your project has to be achieved. Some dates are sooner, some dates are later. For instance, we want to achieve a return on investments 3 years after the project has finished. However, we want to deliver training 3 months before we deliver the solution. So you have a wide span of when you want to actually achieve these individual goals. And that's your SMART goals, right there. There is, by the way, no clear consensus about what precisely these 5 words mean. You will sometimes see R standing for realistic or also for result-driven. And for the A, you'll see the most, actually, deviations. Appropriate, action, attainable, achievable, action-oriented, acceptable. I've seen all of those. And that's why, actually, I call the A in SMART all of the above. There are 2 things that I have learned about goal setting when you do them in the SMART way. First of all, you don't have to cram the whole goal into a humongously long sentence. You don't have to say, I want to achieve blah, 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 and we will measure it by such and such, and we'll have to have it done by da-da-da-da, period. No, that's not really necessary. A table will help you to organize your goals just as well. Create a table with 3 columns, and in the heading write column 1, goal, column 2, measure, column 3, date. And then, of course, in the first column, you will write the goal, reduce time to market. In column 2, you will write 10%, and in column 3, you write December 31st, 2006. Like that, you have defined your goal in a very smart way. The second thing I have learned is that it's not really all too necessary to be smart. Be as smart with your goals as possible, yes, but sometimes a goal is just simply not measurable. And sometimes a goal is difficult to achieve. Sometimes a goal is not very specific. It's more like esoteric. So what? ask yourself if you and your team, your sponsor, your customer are comfortable with a goal that is not measurable, not really realistic, and not very specific. If you are comfortable with this, if you're still trying to achieve it, then wonderful. If at the end of this project you can still look back and say, this was a good goal and we have achieved it, or this was a good goal even though we haven't achieved it, perfect. Just having the goal and going through the process is sometimes just worth a lot, even if these goals are not really all that smart. What I also like to do when I define goals is to include a silly goal. And silly in this case isn't an acronym, it doesn't stand for anything, it just means plain silly. And what I mean by this, an example for a silly goal would be something along the lines of serve ice cream to all project participants at the end of the project. First of all, a goal like this lightens a little bit of the mood, and if you fail all your other goals, at least you can serve ice cream and achieve that particular goal in your project. Oh, and it tastes good too. And lastly, I have read an article as I was researching the SMART goals here, and this article talked about beyond traditional SMART goals. It was written by Susan M. Heathfield. And in this article, Susan talks about the fact, SMART doesn't really necessarily have to mean these 5 words. What was it again? S stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timed. I don't even remember them now. But you can define your own abbreviations here. And she suggests stretching, systematic, synergistic, significant, shifting out of the picture. M, not only measurable, but also meaningful, memorable, motivating, or even magical. A, she says, is not only achievable, but also it can mean action plan, accountability, acumen, and agreed upon. And, like I said, all of the above, right? The R, she says, is not just relevant, but also realistic, reasonable, resonating, result-oriented, rewarding, responsible, reliable. She's got a lot of those. Rooted. So lots and lots of ways of extending the SMART goal idea here. And T, she says, does not only mean time-based, but also timely. There's a little difference there. Tangible, thoughtful, or, that is my personal favorite here, that's why I have added it to this, T can also mean thinking outside of the box. Because like I said, in the end, the process of defining goals is what's important. Sitting down with your stakeholders, discussing the goals with your stakeholders, discussing the project with your stakeholders. Where do you want to be? What do you want to achieve with this? This process is really important, and you and your team need to be sitting down and discussing how do you want to do this project, where do you want to take this project, what are the goals of this project. And this process of discussing it is just as important as having goals at all. And that's it for today with our main section here on the Project Management Podcast on setting SMART goals. Lastly, today here is another review in the section of what I call the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today I am looking at the Ganthead website. Today's review is about Ganthead. They call themselves the online community for IT project managers. And they say that our mission is simple: to make IT project managers more successful. Here's what they say on their About Us page. Being an IT project manager can be a lonely job. You are responsible for a project that business people in your organization care a lot about. Someone may have overcommitted you and is now asking you why you're not done yet. You and your staff are working together to find solutions as best as you can, but within your organization there is no one you can lean on for the answers you need. No one is doing exactly what you are doing now within your company. This is why we built Gantt-Head. They continue to say that Gantt-Head is the experience bridge that fills the gaps, providing help to project managers in a number of ways. It is a community, your community, for IT project managers. If this sounds familiar, then Gantt-Head is definitely the place for you to go. And of course, you can find them at www.gantthead.com, and that's spelled Gantthead. This is a commercial site. Commercial from the sense that every page contains advertisements. And Gantt-Head itself, however, is not really trying to sell you a product. There is no such thing as a Gantt-Head product that you can buy. But they are advertising products of their own sponsors. And when you stop by, and I always try to use Mozilla and Internet Explorer just to see the differences, Gantt-Head works both with Mozilla and Internet Explorer, but it works slightly better with Internet Explorer. The menus aren't all that polished when you're using Mozilla. However, I said that Gantt-Head is not actually trying to sell you a product, a Gantt-Head product. They are, however, selling information. They are selling resources. The basic subscription, the basic membership to Gantt-Head is free, and I have been a member for, several years. Their premium membership, on the other hand, is $350, and they also have a corporate package which starts at $330 a seat. And for this kind of money, you will receive, about 6 bullet points here, let's see. Complete access to methodologies, including tasks. They also offer a full library of project plans in Microsoft Project for various types of standard IT projects that you may wish to perform, like outsourcing it or working on troubled projects. Another part of the premium offer are their premium deliverables, presentations, and checklists for download. Then there is the ability to create and control your own inner circles, an area where you can exchange content and thoughts with other project managers on the site. They have priority requests for content development, so you just tell them what you'd like to see and hopefully they will provide it for you. And of course this is going to appeal to the geek in everybody, in any one of us. They have stylish Gantt-Head gear. Now, like I said, I have had a basic membership for several years, and I don't really know, and I can't speak to whether or not the $350 you pay for the premium membership is actually worth the money, because I cannot go in and take a look at all these premium offerings that they have. The Gantt-Head website also offers the Gantt-Head newsletter, and this is more or less an extension of the website. There is nothing that I have seen in the newsletter that is not also available on the website itself. My best guess is that they're using the newsletter to continuously drive traffic to the website. I've also had the newsletter. I've received the newsletter again and again. What I do is I scan the newsletter, I look at it. If there's something interesting in it that I think I would like to read, then I click on it and I go to the site and I read the free articles that they have. And of course, that's exactly what I meant. They're driving traffic to their website. They're showing the ads that they want to show of their sponsors. As far as the usability goes, the things that I didn't like is the fact that the site is quite cluttered. The pages are full of ads, and they use various font sizes and font colors. So you have blue font, you have red font, you have white font, you have black font. They are in various sizes, and it's just too busy for me personally. However, the design itself on the pages is better than average, so I liked that. The navigation, even though it doesn't work all that well in Mozilla, I like it. It gets you quickly to the places where you want to go. What I also like always to see on a site is at the top what is called breadcrumbs. You know, when you click on 16 pages, you don't remember where on the site am I, and you can quite clearly see it. It shows you that you were in Home, Departments, Program Management Office, the Customer's View. So you can see exactly how you got to the page where you're at. They also have a good RSS news syndication, so if you have an RSS newsreader, you can subscribe to this RSS link and you will see the latest of their news items, the latest of their articles in your newsreader. So you don't even need to subscribe to the newsletter because you'll always be on top of things. And if you go in, they make the clear distinction that all the red links are for premium subscribers and all the blue links are for basic membership only. So you know exactly, I'm a basic member, I don't even need to click on a red link. So, like I said, it's good that they have this difference, however it makes it a bit more cluttered. Alright, content. Here are the things that I didn't like. Well, I didn't like, I'm not quite sure. On every page at the bottom, there is a link to HAT. H-A-T. And when you click on that hat link, well, yes, it shows you a picture of a hat without any further explanations. So it's not something that I don't like. It's like, what is this hat? No explanation. Really odd. The one thing I really didn't like is just the ads. There are a lot of ads on every single page. What I liked, on the other hand, is the fact that there is lots of content. There is an enormous amount of content here. I have, like I said, been a member for many, many years, and I probably haven't used Gantt to its fullest potential. There is so much stuff here, so much good stuff here. You can literally spend a day surfing around and just read, and you will find new stuff again and again. And I'm not sure if this now is also a plus or a minus, because it looks like everything that they have ever published is available in the archives. That's good. However, that also means that when you search for something, you have to be very careful about the validity of articles that are old. For instance, I found an article in the archives that talked about the great features that Microsoft Project 2000 is going to offer you. And it's now 2005, the article is still there, so that's great to see. However, you have to stay on top of your game when you read these articles to see, oh, this is an older article. All right. They also have very active forums, so if you have any questions that you need answered quickly, Gantt is probably a good place to go and post your questions. You will receive answers quickly. My verdict: on the good, bad and ugly scale, Gantt is good, with a slight tendency towards the ugly simply because of the clutteredness of the pages and because there are so many ads on every page, which is distracting. The articles are very valid. I love the free basic membership to access most content, and you can spend hours and hours here surfing around. But then again, when it comes to the ads, hey, you've got to make your money somehow to pay for the service, right? That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. My next show will be in 2 weeks from today, because this week we celebrate Thanksgiving here in the United States, and I am taking a week off from the Project Management Podcast. And as far as topics go, I don't really know yet what I'm going to do in 2 weeks. So go ahead and send me an email or make a suggestion. If I like it, you can hear about it in 2 weeks already. As always, you can find us on the web at pmpodcast.blogspot.com or send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com. And when you write, please tell me where in the world you are writing from. Before I go here, I also wanted to make give you another reminder about the listener survey. Please go to the blog and fill it in. And finally, we have this, a quote from the scheduling department. The sooner you begin your project, the later you finish. With that, tell your team members what you want them to do on the project and not how you want them to do it. They are clever enough to come up with the how by themselves. Until next time.